To another live stream with me, and I have a special guest today, Grant Robert Davies. And he's a Micro Four Thirds photographer. He's really known for his tutorials and gear talk about the Lumix system primarily. And but he also has really an amazing portfolio in street photography and landscapes, and uh, he's based in Australia, for those of you out there. So that's why we're kind of starting at this weird time. I had to make something that was sort of intersected at a time that we're both awake at the same time. Uh, but yeah, I'm really trying to expand the community here in Micro Four Thirds with um, other channels and other channels that I really truly have a lot of enthusiasm for and love, and there's so many other channels out there, like with Grant Robert Davies, that has shares the same enthusiasm and passion for the Micro Four Thirds system, and um, and that's what I'm trying to do here is introduce you to others on YouTube here that that you can be share or be part of that community and share that enthusiasm and passion for the system. But anyhow, without further ado, let me bring on Grant. And one second, you guys know how it is with me. For those of you that follow me, and I'm sure it's not going to be this. If you're watching this later, sorry for the sort of the weird time that I don't, that I normally don't come on at this time, and uh, I got to figure out which button to push. You'd think after like 6 years I'd have this down, right? There he is. Hey, Grant, how are you?
Hey, Rob. Good, man. Thanks for
Oh,
having me.
oh
Awesome.
man, this is awesome. I'm really it's really my honor to have you on the channel
Oh,
because
thanks.
like I said, it's you do such great work on your channel promoting and talking about the Micro Four Thirds system, particularly the Lumix cameras, but any Micro Four Thirds systems, Olympus and Panasonic, they both are doing such a great job in making cameras for photographers like all of us here. So I wanted to touch base and kind of pick your brain a little bit about Micro Four Thirds, some of the gear, your thoughts on that, and the future of Micro Four Thirds, and then really get into your photography because when I saw your portfolio, or at least your Instagram, I wouldn't call that a portfolio, but I was really impressed with the very striking colors and the compositions that you have in there.
Thanks,
And
man.
I wanted to pick your brains also on that, on
For sure.
because ultimately that's what we're doing this for, right? That's why we have cameras, is to take pictures. But I was wondering, you how long have you been shooting photography in general, and what attracted you to the Micro Four Thirds system? Because there's so many systems out there
Yep.
with a lot to choose from, and I'm just curious, what your motivation was.
Yeah, man. Well, honestly, been shooting for a long time, ever since I was a kid, film and then little retro digital cameras and stuff like that. Seriously, though, from about 2017-ish, when my son was born, that's when I sort of started to take things a little bit more serious, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just wanted a small camera. I didn't really honestly think about sensor size that much or anything like that. Coming from a guy who used Nikon cameras, D90s, D700s, and I just researched the Panasonic G7, and
Mm.
I thought, that looks to be good. I wanted to start a YouTube channel about bass guitars because I'm a bass player, musician.
Oh,
So that was in the back of my mind, both photography, film, that sort of thing. And then I sort of, yeah, just got into the G7.
yeah, yeah. It's not too different story than what I have, except with
Yeah,
Olympus. You find something that you want to capture the memories in your life, the important
yeah,
things in your life, and you want to take photography a little more seriously to do that.
for sure.
Uh, you with your kids, me with my dogs, for example, and surprisingly or unsurprisingly, I find that a lot of photographers are also musicians.
It's a
Uh,
common thread. Yes.
yeah, Yeah, and
Yeah,
also have background in this also common I found is like in technology, right?
yeah, tech,
Computer
graphic design.
programmers. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess our brains are all wired the same, right?
yeah, that's it, man.
Um, so you were looking at a G7,
Yes,
and that has a very DSLR style,
it
and
does.
I think it's still in production because I see it for sale.
I think it
Uh,
might be too. Like, there's still new boxed versions of it on
yeah.
Amazon and stuff like that. But it was a great camera, man, and it really got me thinking a lot more and doing that sort, like thinking, oh, okay,
Mhm.
no, I can actually start to get into this sort of thing, and sort of
Yeah,
really got me involved in it.
and it's funny because, like yourself, I was a Nikon shooter before,
Mm,
I got into Micro Four Thirds. I had a D7100, a D750, and I'm just
nice.
curious, when you were looking at the G7, uh what sort of attracted you to the Micro Four Thirds system, overall?
I think a lot had to do with the modern mirrorless technology too. I guess,
Mm,
Micro Four Thirds was some of the first cameras to jump on that mirrorless sort of thing,
right,
and I guess essentially it was like not too far away from my old D90. It's like a shrunken down version of this. The handling, the dials, the buttons, it's
right,
all right there. So the G7 is, just a shrunken down version of this.
right.
Mm, mm.
Wow, okay, that makes sense because that when I think back, I started, like, late 2015, early 2016 myself, so about the same time.
Mm.
I didn't know anything about Micro Four Thirds or mirrorless. Was just I understood the concept,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, yeah.
uh, it didn't resonate with me, but, uh, what I found, about Micro Four Thirds is the system, because the D90 and the D700, those are no joke. Those are excellent cameras,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
Awesome.
for, as I had 7100 and a
Yeah.
750, excellent DSLRs, uh, but I found that, particularly with Olympus, I'm not as familiar with Panasonic, but, they really made the cameras for photographers.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
it
yeah.
just seems very intuitive, and the design and the sort of the, uh, features that they had all just made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Um, and, so I started out with a similar camera, the EM10 Mark II. It's very
Mhm.
similar to the G7,
Yeah, yeah.
at the time, and, over the years now, you've been shooting, I guess, like, almost 7 years now with Micro Four Thirds and
Yeah,
Lumix. What
yeah.
what kind of cameras and lenses do you prefer for, like, your personal photography? Uh,
Personal photography, in the Micro Four Thirds world, it's all this little camera here, the GX9. Um,
mm,
this is my go-to everything sort of camera. I mean, I could even do jobs with this, but
right.
excuse me. This is my go-to everything sort of camera. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent camera.
Yeah.
I have so much gas. I've been shopping that too. 'Cause I had a GX85 before, and,
Okay.
I didn't gel with that camera, uh, because I had a Pen F also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
You're the Pen F man. Yeah.
yeah, and when I had those on the table, I was like, "I'm taking the Pen F," you know?
Yeah.
Uh, but, the G9 definitely, the build quality
Oh yeah.
and the price point of the G9, the GX80, uh, yeah, the GX80, sorry, I have a mosquito in here. Uh, what really impressed me about the Lumix, GX85, that's the rangefinder version of that, right? Or is it called the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
G85?
That's it. There's the G85, which is the DSLR style one of it,
Okay,
which I've
yeah,
had, and then there's the GX85, which is not far away from the GX9.
right.
In fact, this thumb grip here I've got on my GX9, is meant for the G85, so it covers the on-off button.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But yeah, the build quality was amazing. You know, very solid
yeah,
metal. All the seams and everything were very just the tolerances and the engineering that went into that camera was very impressive.
yes.
Right up there with the Pen F, I'd say.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely. Oh, yeah, yeah,
you know, and the G9 is just a sort of a newer version of that for the most part. You know,
yeah,
upgraded
yeah,
sensor
sure, yeah,
and all
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
Uh, and what lens do you like to pair with that when you go out?
Well, it is now these days the 15 mil Panasonic Leica lens.
Mm,
Um, this really is like I don't know. I don't know if it's a match made in heaven. It's a great combo, man. 15 mil, so that's 30 mil, right, in full
yeah.
frame. Yep. So I guess it's that classic-ish 35 mil.
Yeah.
I just have fell in love with this combo and this focal length. Um, if I do have an alert on for a GX85,
Mhm.
I would definitely pick up that camera as like a buddy to this camera as well.
Really?
I love this style so much. Yeah, yeah. In fact,
Wow.
I've got a Pan F2 here.
Yeah.
Um, and as you said, you didn't really gel with your GX85. I'm having
Right.
a bit of a hard time gelling with this camera. So I guess
Yes.
it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Emily over at Micro Four Nerds had the same problem. She had it and then sold it. She couldn't stand the menus. You know,
Uh,
even after watching my videos. So,
yeah,
but uh, but that's one thing is both the cameras, GX85, G9, Pen F, the build quality uh, is second to none in my opinion. They
oh yeah,
just
it's right
really
up there.
did such a
Yeah,
good job. It
yeah,
feels very professional. It has some substance to it.
yeah,
And when I had my GX85, and I told this to my viewers when I had it, was I felt the menus were very intuitive,
yeah,
and I was
for
able
sure.
to quickly get into and do everything I wanted to do with that camera very quickly. And if
Yep,
there was any features that were there, uh, that were unique to that camera, it didn't take long to pick up how to start using those. And
yeah,
that's kind of gets back to what I was saying about, I felt like these cameras were just made for photographers and the way things work, just our brains are wired the same way, whoever designed these cameras.
yeah. That's it.
Uh,
Yeah, yep.
yeah, and that 15 millimeter Leica, man,
Oh, yeah,
I've been talking about that for a year now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
should I should
It's a
just
good
get
lens.
one.
Yeah,
But when I went to eBay, I was like LX100 or 15 millimeter and put that on my Pen F.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I decided because it'd be almost the same thing, but
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and that's the thing is to this day, uh, and I'm not alone based on the pricing that we see on the used market for these smaller, compact, rangefinder style cameras.
Oh, without doubt.
X100V,
Oh,
X100VI,
yeah,
from Fuji,
yeah,
and the G9,
yeah,
the
yeah,
G8. These things are selling for the same, if not
yeah.
more than what they were brand new.
Yeah, these are well over $1,000 in Australia now,
Yeah,
and like that's how much they were going for back then, brand new.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
I was looking today, and I can get a used G86, which is in every measurable way a better camera than than really almost anything I have except my own one. And I can get that for less than I can get a G9.
That's it, man. Like people can get over here, like you can get a GH5, which is just an incredible camera
Yeah,
for about $700 to $800, and you're honestly, I mean, other than the styling and stuff, you're gonna get so much more out of a GH5 than something like this. Honestly,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a better camera in every measurable way,
that's
and yet,
exactly right.
uh, people want these smaller cameras, and
Yes.
we're just not really seeing those coming out from Olympus or OM Systems and Panasonic.
Yeah, no, it's not
That
happening.
said, what do you think they should make? I mean, I've kind of already answered the question, I think, at least
Yeah,
from
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
perspective. Well,
Yeah.
I saw a video recently from you where you said that, a G9 Mark II is not on the table, but that said, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think we need to go in that direction, or do you have different ideas about what OM Systems and Panasonic should be doing?
Yeah, look, I think they are definitely missing something. They're missing maybe an opportunity in it. Like, I'm not being negative or anything like that, but I feel
Right.
as though giving the popularity of the Fujifilm, the smaller cameras, the X100V and 6 and all that sort of stuff, given the popularity of those and seeing how much the secondhand Pen Fs and GX9s and GX85s are on the market, releasing another style of camera like that would make sense. And, I know there's a lot of tech now that they've got to put into the cameras themselves, but I honestly feel if they released a GX9 Mark II just with maybe the new sensor and the autofocus or something like that, they'd be on to a winner. But then,
Yeah.
I remember DMing Panasonic Australia directly saying, when are you going to bring out a GX9 Mark II? And they said, oh, the problem is we made the first one too good. So,
Well, it's not on the shelf. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's not like I can go to the store and buy one. Oddly a G7 is. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
You
GX8,
know?
G85, still box brand new.
Yeah,
Which is
G85,
it's a better
G95.
camera. Yeah.
Then the rangefinder side, it's like, what'd they do? They did an S9. And I don't know how that's selling,
Yeah, neither do
but
I. I haven't heard much about it, man. Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me at all as
No,
a
it doesn't
as a
appeal to me
photographer.
too. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we're both content creators, and you would think that would be geared towards people like us, but
Yeah, well, that's what I say to people. Like my GH5 Mark II. This is my main sort of content creation sort of camera. And it's been on the chopping block a few times, because I recently got a GH6. But I thought to myself, no, I can't get rid of this. This is just such a big part of my workflow, and it's just so good for content creation and stuff like that, and a very, very high sort of, I don't want to say high end, but it's just a lot of camera for the price you can get them for now.
yeah,
Where the S9 seems more of they're targeting it towards content creators who aren't sort of, I guess, photographers, which got me thinking, because I've got a big marketing background, with that S9, they gave it to every photographer on the face of the planet to promote it as a content creator. But these are photographers who are content creators. They would have been better off giving it to Mr. Beast and saying this episode is shot on a Panasonic S9.
yeah,
That's what would have sold, because that's the target you're going for. My son's a drummer. He's 7. He wants to start a drumming YouTube channel. If he saw that his favorite Drumeo channel, they were using S9s, he'd be like, that's the camera I need for my YouTube channel. But that's just
yeah.
the way my marketing mind is sort of wide, I guess you could say.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense, that camera, for people like that don't
Yeah.
care about taking photos so much.
That's
Other
it.
than, yeah, the camera will take pictures, but I wanted to do video, and I think to some extent the S9, really, now that we're using more LED lighting, the fact that it doesn't have a hot shoe and you can't use flash
Yes.
didn't
Yeah.
really affect me too much. I was
No.
like, it's okay. I can use LED lighting. I don't have to use flash.
That's right.
And LED lighting now is powerful enough. You can use it as good fill-in outdoors even.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
But I think what killed it for me was the lack of EVF.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because and the lenses for it. Right now, the L mount doesn't really have too many compact lenses.
No. It looks massive. 20 to 60 on it. It's huge.
Yeah, it just, they're coming out with us with a smaller kit lens. I forget what
Yeah,
it's
right.
called. It's like a 28 to 60 or something. It's
Oh, okay.
small.
Yep.
And that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think if it would have launched with that instead of that manual focus 28.
Yeah. For content creators, like, yeah, as I said, like, if you've got a drumming YouTube channel and stuff like that, you don't have time to manual focus. You just want to hit record and go for it.
Right. Because
Mm.
they launch it with a 28 millimeter, even for the audience that they wanted to go to, that's not wide enough.
No, that's exactly right. It was a funny campaign. I think we all learnt from that.
So yeah, I just so I think they almost, if they would have done a G9 Mark II, that thing would be flying off the shelf like this
Yeah,
Deluxe 8 that just came out,
yeah,
which
the
is,
lighter one, yeah.
it's just a minor update to an LX100 Mark II.
Yeah.
You know?
Or the original Deluxe 7, really.
And they're sold out everywhere.
Is that right, hey? Wow.
Yeah. I can't get one. I had a small window where I could get one, and thank God I didn't. Saved by the bell, but
Mm,
uh, and X100 VI, it's like these things are just flying off the shelf.
yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I believe the 1 million pre-order deal or not.
Yeah,
But
that was, yeah, I don't know about that. That's a
yeah,
lot of little tiny cameras.
yeah. I mean, I'm like, come on. But
Yeah,
maybe it is. It doesn't matter. They can't. They could have 10 million pre-orders if they can't make them. What difference does it make?
that's exactly right.
Uh,
Well, with that new time lap thing that they got in the S9, like that in a new GX9 Mark II, that would be cool. If you could really dive some energy into that, I think you could really
yeah,
have photos to share straight away.
yeah. I mean,
Mm,
there's just so much they could do with Micro Four Thirds. Because think about it, right? The content creator camera, they're going to be focusing on video.
mm.
I would challenge anyone to tell me that a Micro Four Thirds video capability is any less than a full frame,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
S9,
nothing. Oh,
you
yeah.
know, in terms of just output quality.
Yeah,
Uh,
without a doubt.
you know, yeah, we can talk about dynamic range and all of that, but ultimately, Micro Four Thirds is still very, very popular with people that are making movies and
For sure.
doing content like yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just the S9, I just don't understand why they thought that was a good idea. Uh,
Yeah.
we
I
really
know.
want a G9 Mark II or a Pen F Mark II, um,
Yeah.
and we would
The
be there.
popularity's there.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's not just me, right? You kind
No,
of
man.
agree
No,
with
no,
that.
no. Well, I hear it in my comments too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People sort of saying we want a GX9 Mark II, and I think there's definitely a market there for them, but I don't work with Panasonic or OM Systems and stuff, so they're obviously, these companies aren't stupid, so they're obviously
Right.
seeing that, we'll put more emphasis on this style of thing because they just released the GH7, which looks amazing. Like, I mean, come
Yeah.
on, like what a serious camera that is. Uh,
Right.
so obviously that whole sort of analogy that Micro Four Thirds is dead is not true because they keep bringing out new Micro Four Thirds cameras.
Yeah. Yeah. The G9 Mark II is amazing camera.
Incredible.
I mean, oh my God, it's like such fantastic cameras coming out.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, there's this stigma that goes with Micro Four Thirds, and it's not from us. It's from these Sony and Fuji people or whoever
Yeah.
they are. I'm really sorry about this mosquito. To you and all my viewers,
You're
I
right.
should have killed that thing before I started. But you know how it is. You wake up in the morning, you're
Oh yeah,
scratching, and
yeah.
oh
They're not
God.
bad here at the moment, but they'll get bad in a few weeks.
But yeah, so uh, that's that's kind of where I wanted to go with the gear. Is just, when we're talking about gear, is let them know that there really is a market. We're seeing it in our own, from our own viewers and community, that people want these cameras, and they would, as you've seen from other companies, these things will just fly off the shelf if you
Yeah,
make them.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we love the G9 Mark II, the OM1 Mark II, the GH. Yeah, we love these cameras, but
yeah,
you
fantastic.
know, the average person is not going to go out and spend, $2,000.
No, no, definitely not. Well, the GH7 here in Australia is close to like $4,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
you got to be
crazy.
very serious. I mean, I got my GH6 just recently, because obviously the GH7 come out, but I got this brand new for 1,600 Australian dollars. Now these things
Wow.
have shot back up to about 3,500. So there was a window of opportunity where I sort of said, no, I have to. Do I
Yeah,
need this camera? Not necessarily, but at that price point, it's like, yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense to get it because this will last
right.
me forever.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is telling, because I saw one for like $785.
Wow.
It only had like, 5,000 shutter count,
Yeah,
which on a
yeah.
camera like that, it doesn't matter because it's
No,
all,
that's right. Well, even
yeah,
secondhand, like these things, the GH6s in Australia, they're $2,000. So I got mine brand new for 1,600.
yeah,
It just made a lot of sense to get that. And I was going to sell the GH5 Mark II, but to offload some of the cost and stuff. But at that price, it just makes sense because the GH5 Mark II is such a massive part of my workflow.
yeah,
Uh, it makes sense just to keep it.
yeah, absolutely. And the
Mhm.
GH5s over here are selling for like 500, 600. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like,
And that's a lot
okay,
of camera for that price.
you know,
Yeah. Great
I
camera.
feel like a tank of gas costs that much these days, but you know,
Yeah, that's right,
not quite, but you know what I'm saying. It's like crazy. Um, but okay, so that's so Panasonic OM systems. Please give us compact rangefinder, affordable cameras for us and our viewers, the community.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
definitely some demand.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but okay, so I'm gonna pull up your Instagram because
Okay, man.
uh, I was really impressed with the work that you put there.
Oh, okay. Thank you
Um,
very much. Thank
see
you.
if I can do this. There we go.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to go up here to the top. Let's start with your newest stuff. You take a lot of care in organizing them for your profile page so that you get this nice 3-panel break with GRD
Yeah,
here, your initials.
that's my design and marketing background.
Yeah, that's not easy to do
No,
consistently.
I
uh,
think of Instagram now as just an online portfolio business card than anything. And that's what I tell my marketing clients. Forget about any organic growth on Instagram and stuff like that. Just think of it as a schmick online business card.
right.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never gotten any, not that I try. I use my Instagram mostly for just social, uh, sharing what I do,
Yeah,
day to day, and occasionally some educational stuff. But
yeah. Oh,
uh,
it's a hard
you,
platform.
yeah, you've definitely got some, because your work is more, I think, like doing portraits, right? Professionally.
Yeah, that's it. Well, any sort of like paid sort of work, which are mostly all my marketing clients, um, all my pro photography work comes through them. So yeah, mostly sort of portraits and stuff like that.
Yeah, and yet your Instagram is mostly looks like street photography,
Yeah,
uh,
so I've broken
architectural.
my world into two sort of worlds now. So my Instagram page, I do all sort of share my street photography and Lumix content and stuff like that. Then I've got another brand um, that I just share all my sort of more sort of professional portrait
Hmm.
uh, commercial work as well.
Okay. So, what I really appreciate about your work here is, the very strong contrast and bold colors.
Yeah,
And also there's a consistency in terms of the types of feeling that I get from the images.
oh,
And
thanks.
I've never been very good at articulating, uh, these very subjective type things in photography, but I
Yeah,
can. Um, I do want to ask you though, like, what, how do you decide, what kind of scenes you want to capture? Because a lot of the scenes here, they're very different, but yet they have the same vibe,
yep,
or what moments do you try to capture, in your photography? As I kind of scroll down some of these, you can talk about that a
yep.
little bit. Or
Okay.
if you see an image that you want me to stop on,
Look,
like there's another nice grid there.
yeah, yeah. That's a Pen F one, that one.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, with the 17 mil f 2.8. So I guess like with that sort of scene there,
Mhm.
I am mainly looking for the light contrast. So whereabouts the light is falling, the subject matter, that sort of thing there. But it really is finding for me, my eye looks for pockets of light.
Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah,
Because there's
yes.
definitely
That's what I'm
yeah,
looking.
okay, interesting. Now is this like one image that you split up and put into pieces like this, or is this like actually 6 separate images?
No. It's one image. So
Okay.
I will uh, g render that down as a massive as a big high quality image, and then I'll use a not an app, but there's a website called Image Splitter. Now I've got a design sort of background. I could do all this myself, but this
Right.
Image Splitter app splits it perfectly for Instagram. So you just got to set your size ratio for how many grids you want it. So this picture's optimized for 6 Instagram square grids,
Okay.
and then you split it in this Instagram in this splitter, and then you can come up with that. I've got another link, not a window I can share you, but I can send you a link of my. Actually, if you go to the top of my Instagram page there and click
Mhm.
on Seventh Boulevard, that's my commercial brand. See where it says more stuff up in the bio?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one there. If you click on that, you'll see how I do it here as well. So if you scroll down, you'll see how I can
Oh, okay.
get my grid happening like
Wow.
that as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is all like the personal branding stuff I do and everything like that. But I'm not on Instagram anymore for any growth and stuff. It's just
Right.
for when people see it, they go, oh, okay, this guy sort of knows what he's doing. You might get a lead,
Right.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. So when you when you're contacted, say through referral or whatever
Yep.
for potential work, do you point them to your Instagram page? Or
Look, sometimes a lot of the times they're coming from Instagram or they're
okay.
coming from my website. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So getting back to this side, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see a stark difference, right? Paid work versus, because
Oh,
paid work you got to give what the client wants.
100%, man. Yeah, no, that's why I had to draw a line in the sand. I couldn't be sharing this street every day. There's a boat
Right.
scene that just down the road from me, but then there's a nature scene as well. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
can't be doing that and then sharing this high-end portraiture, personal branding sort of stuff. Um, you know,
Right.
it's not one of those things. That doesn't go with the other stuff.
No, not at all. But
No,
I
that's right.
noticed I've noticed a few, like, I don't know if you'd call these triptychs or not, but this is a very interesting composition as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, that's that. I rip them down and then I stack them up um, in either like Photoshop or Canva. Canva's easy to do this sort of stuff in as well. and then I'll just use take the scenes that I've captured of that F truck there.
Right.
I'll just sort of render it down. I get a lot of this inspiration from a great photographer in Atlanta called Evan Ranft. He's a YouTuber photographer guy, and he's a big influence on myself and my photography as well.
Wow. Look at that. I notice a lot of red in your images too.
Yeah, I'm drawn to red, man.
Mhm.
That's not on purpose. That's just, I guess it's a subconscious sort of thing. You know what I mean? I am drawn to red. I like red.
Yeah, look at that Mustang down here. I love
Yeah,
that.
man. Yeah, that's my dream car. That one. Yeah.
Oh,
It's just a reel. Yeah. So when I
it's a
do reels,
real.
I put the
I see. Oh yeah, I see the little
yeah.
icon. Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff on mine.
No. Oh look, and I do it, but it's not something I enjoy doing. Like I'm like, I'm going to make this awesome reel. It's like I'll do it to keep up with the trends. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Wow. This is really, really good stuff. I think
Oh,
I
thanks.
definitely feel a style or a theme here that you're conveying through all of your images.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know whether it's sort of subconscious, but it definitely feels though that it's a style I sort of have developed and stuff for my own sort of
Right.
like, as you can see, I'm very sort of like a low key sort of stuff. I remember because I've done just for my own exploring, I did my diploma of photography, not for any other reason, just I had a gap in my knowledge that I wanted to fix. And when I did that, any high key assignments that I had to do for bright scenes and stuff like that, I really, really struggled.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But any sort of low key stuff, the darker contrasty images,
Uh-huh.
no worries.
Okay, okay, I want to come back to that, but let me ask you, you know, like I said, there's definitely a very consistent feeling I'm getting from every single photo
Oh, thanks,
that
man.
I can definitely say, like when I look at one photo to the next, I can say, yeah, that definitely looks like a Grant's one of Grant's images.
Well, that's cool.
So do you,
I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, and how do you like and all these compositions are similar, but they're different. I think the lighting and colors, sort of the tones, the dynamic range is very similar.
Yeah, for
So I'm
sure.
definitely seeing a lot of punch here.
Lots of punch,
But
lots of punch.
overall, let's kind of back off a little and just look at a scene, like, and talk
Yep.
about your approach to the composition itself.
Okay.
Um, how do you approach like a scene and think about the composition before you take the picture?
Well, I am always thinking I'm always thinking of the rule of thirds. That is, in fact, I've always got that on the grid of my camera in the
Mhm.
live view, and I've always got that on. So I'm always thinking of the rule of thirds. I'm thinking of, as I said before, where the light falls in the composition as well,
Mhm.
and the contrast of the light. And a lot of my street photography photos, they don't necessarily have a lot of people in them, but when I do, I always try to capture people just going about their thing, obviously in street photography. But
Yeah.
that's sort of what I sort of look for. You know what I mean? And I always I like to get down low. I don't really shoot from like a high angle. I either get down low or try to meet everything on the level that I sort of see it at,
Yeah.
and I think that helps me out a lot. But I definitely think that micro four thirds, and particularly getting into the Leica lenses, has really sort of shaped the look. I think, like Fuji, Panasonic is naturally sort of more of a darker, low key output. I think like Canon and Nikon, I think they've got more of a high key, sort of a brighter sort of feel, especially with Canon,
Mhm.
because you can really preserve the highlights really well. But I feel as though like brands like Panasonic have made me sort of, there's definitely a feeling in that system as well.
Yeah.
And that could just be me, but yeah, that's what I feel like.
Well, I think even if the output was the same, when you
Hmm.
pick up a camera, you have a different experience with that camera, and you take different kinds of pictures.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's exactly
You
right.
know, so when you pick up a Canon, for example, maybe you want to take brighter pictures.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
uh, not necessarily because the camera's doing it, but
Yeah, yeah,
somehow
yeah.
your relationship with that
You're
camera is very
wired to it. Yeah,
so we're getting into some older stuff here, it
yeah,
looks like.
yeah.
So
This is
I
a
can
bit
I
older
can
sort of
definitely
stuff.
see a transition a little bit.
You can, can't you? Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
tiny bit of transition.
yeah,
Because here the light is, I'm seeing softer light in some of the images, like this
yeah.
one and this one.
Yep, yep. And some of those
Uh,
old, like those hands of the girl there, that's like my old sort of Nikon stuff
yeah, yeah,
back
I
in the
can
day.
definitely see a little bit of a transition. And as I move up,
Yeah.
you're definitely fine tuning your style.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think the way you put it in terms of pockets of light
Yep.
and the punchy bold colors and the red, like there's the red starting to pop in over here. See?
It's funny. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
bringing it
and
right
then
to my
definitely
mind.
staying low,
Yes. Yep.
to the ground. A lot of these images.
That leaf was with the Olympus 12 to 40 back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
excellent lens.
Oh, unreal
Uh,
lens. There's my old D90.
yeah,
Great
awesome,
camera.
awesome camera. One of the first, I think, cameras that offered good video
It
in a
did.
DSLR.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Great camera. It's
Yeah.
probably, the D90, honestly, like I'm a Micro Four Thirds channel, obviously, but the
Mm,
D90 videos, when you scroll through my analytics, they've got the evergreen long form growth. They're the ones that always get the most views and stuff. People love that camera.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like on my channel. I have, my Pen Ep and my.
Yeah.
I did one on the EM5 Mark II, and those
Yeah.
things just go on forever. People
Yeah,
are
that's
always
right.
looking at those. The
Yeah.
EM10 videos.
Yep.
And then I
Yep.
make a video about the OM1 and yeah. And
Yeah.
they don't care about the camera. They want to learn how to know how to use it really. But
That's exactly
anyhow,
right. Yeah.
wow. Yeah, this is pretty impressive stuff.
Oh, thanks, man. That
I,
means a
I
lot.
wish because if anybody that's seen my Instagram, it's just it's a melting pot of everything. Different different styles, different subjects.
Well, that's why I
Uh,
had to separate mine. Like I had to do it because I couldn't keep, and that only started at the top of 2024. Because if like if I'd be a meeting with a marketing person, they're like, "Oh, look, you do photography as well." I'd be sending them to my Instagram, this one here, and they'd see all this like a boat and stuff. And
yeah.
then I'll scroll down a bit more. You might see some more sort of headshots and stuff. And I thought to myself, no, I got to stop doing this. But on the flip side, um, having a more professional portfolio, having these two brands, especially having the YouTube channel as well, gives a lot of sort of social proof as well. It's like, oh, this guy's got his finger on the pulse over here, and he's also doing this over here. Sort of gives you a little bit more sort of social proof as well.
Right, right.
Mm,
Okay, I'm gonna kill this real quick
you're right.
if I can find my mouse. Uh, oh, no, it's this button.
Oh, there you go.
This one and this one. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, so yeah, it's interesting. So, always looking for the light, generally
Yep.
staying low. If
Yep.
there's people in it, you want it to be sort of candid.
Yeah, I shoot manual too. I don't shoot aperture priority or shutter or
Oh,
anything like
okay.
that. I like having full control at all times. You know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
tried shooting in aperture priority and shutter priority.
Hmm.
I find every time I go to it, I sort of think I just it's not my thing. Like I can't dial in what I see, especially with the viewfinders on the mirrorless cameras. You can dial in exactly what you see. So I
Yeah.
can really compose it right there in the little video screen. And I find like to me, shooting aperture priority, people are like, oh, you don't miss the shot with aperture priority, shutter priority. It's like, yeah, I get that, but I would rather miss a shot and dial in my tone to get the right shot.
Yeah. And that's something I'm more recently have picked up is uh I just don't take the shot if I don't think it's going to be any good. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just skip
That's
it
it.
instead of trying to get everything, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Just take your time.
And people are showing me images and asking me, you know, why can't I get a good picture? I said, well, it's cloudy. The bird is like a mile away,
That's
and
it.
you're using a wide angle lens. I mean,
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
when you anyhow, yeah, so it's always like don't make photography hard, you know?
No, yeah, that's exactly right. You're always going to miss a shot. I mean, if you're a street photographer and there's something cool going on over here, there's probably something even cooler happening in the background, you
Yeah,
know? And that's
exactly.
the mentality of people, just don't worry about missing a shot.
Yeah. I mean
Mm.
that happens to me a lot. It's like when I was doing vlogging a lot, uh I'd be editing the vlog footage and I'd be like, there's a shot right behind me.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll see
Or
it
you
in the
watch other
video.
people. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I mean, and when you've been going out, have you like ever seen anything kind of surprising or unexpected and then started and pick up on that and that sort of became a theme for you, or is it
No,
you
not
know?
really, man. I don't go out with too. I have when I go out, I have a basic. The biggest thing I think about is where I'm going to. So
Hmm.
that's the plan in my head. So where I'm going to, the gear I'm going to take, and then I just sort of roll with it. I don't look for necessarily any themes or anything like that. Or I'm going to look for purple tones or anything like that. I just look for sort of cool lighting scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a great way to approach it.
Mm.
There's different ways of doing that, but I think just like in our professional work, you know, because people ask me time to time, not very often, but they ask me time to time, like, uh, how do you, and this is related in a roundabout way, but some of my viewers, they are getting their first job, right? First
Yeah,
professional job, and they're really nervous.
for sure.
And they asked me, you know, how do you sort of overcome that nervousness? And I said, it's all in planning.
Yeah,
All of the
100.
work is done before you even get to the,
Oh, without a
you
doubt.
know,
Yep, that's
yeah.
exactly right. Yep,
You know, when you get to the site, you know, everything is, all you have to do is push your shutter button, but everything has been planned and done already.
that's exactly
Uh,
right.
and your approach to your sort of your personal photography sounds very similar in that, you know, you have a camera and lens that you're going to go out with,
Yep, that's it.
and you're going to look for you're going to go with your style, you know, looking for the
Exactly.
light,
Yep,
etc.
and also having
Uh,
just going out with one lens too, not
yeah.
having multiple lenses. Like I've got a video coming out tonight actually about my
Mhm.
first trip out with my GH6, and I had the Panasonic Leica 12-60 on it, a zoom lens, and I'm just not that used to using zoom lenses as much now.
Mhm.
And on this camera, I really struggled with my compositions and the feeling I was going for and stuff like that. And I really struggled because I had too many options, I think, with the zoom lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and the variable aperture on the 12-60 is an f2.8 to f4, and I struggle with that, man. I mean, I've got a Canon 24-105 adapted to my GH6, and that gives me a constant f2.8.
Right.
And I've got this sort of set up for sort of more paid jobs and things like that. But yeah, like, I think, now talking about it with you, looking at my style and stuff, most of that stuff's with a prime lens. And I was, tonight the video's coming out and I sort of midway, I edit through, I do a video break, just sort of saying, look, I'm really struggling. I'm not wowed by the images
Yeah.
and stuff. It's not the camera at all. It's just because you develop a thing. And I think my thing is definitely sort of prime lenses now. There's no doubt about that. And also the size factor of like a GX9, the small size factor compared to something like the GH6. I didn't get the street photography, you know what I mean? But I felt more intimidated having this big thing walking around than I did with this. And I think that really affected my confidence and my image output on Friday.
Yeah, because you feel like you're literally shooting people with a cannon.
Yes, that's
A
exactly
literal
right.
cannon,
Yep.
a bazooka, it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's a big setup. The GH6 is a big camera, and
yeah.
it definitely did affect my compositions, man. And the zoom, having too many options, not using my feet, it really did mess me up.
Wow.
But that camera is not for that style of thing. You know what I mean? It's not for that. It's for
Right.
content creation, and it's for sort of any paid work I have moving forward. It's putting my cool sort of like 42.5 f1.2, the 12mm f1.4, the 15mm, putting those lenses to work.
Yeah, and looking at your professional work, it's kind of the same thing, it looks like, where you
Yeah,
have a prime that you're going to take with you, and that's going to be your primary lens for that
that's
shoot.
exactly right. Yep.
Because I noticed, you can, you get an eye for it, right? You can see the compression and the focal length that you were
Without a
using.
doubt. Yep.
When I do events and things, Zoom makes a lot of sense, but I already know ahead of time,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to do couples, groups of 5 to 10,
Yeah.
and then I'm
Yeah.
going to do individuals, and I can just zoom in and out, right?
Yeah. That's exactly
But
right.
when
Yep.
we're talking about like actually trying to do photography,
Yeah.
for the pure enjoyment
Yeah.
of creating images and creating art, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a prime person. I like to
Yeah.
use primes, and
And I think, at events and stuff, like I shoot the odd event too, you're there to be taking photos. So the camera, this combo here for events,
Mhm.
great, but people know you're there for, there's no sort of, what's that dude doing over there?
Yeah,
In fact, the only two times I've been sort of called out for shooting street photography was using my old Nikon D700. Some bloke said, "What are you doing?" That was ages ago. And just recently, a couple of weeks ago, when I was testing out the firmware update on the speed booster, I took it down to my local pier and stuff, and some woman said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And that
yeah,
was the only two times I've ever been sort of approached to it. And I just honestly said, "Oh, I just updated the software to my speed booster. I'm just seeing how it calculates with this." I just gave a real technical answer, and she just went, "No."
yeah, yeah. Like I was like, so
Yeah.
she's gonna understand that, but that just dazzle them with techno
Just said
talk,
send.
right?
And she's like, "Oh, okay, no worries."
Um, yeah, I've been approached a lot. It's just, and I think Brian James is here. Hey, Brian, how are you? The Micro Four Thirds guy.
Oh, cool, man.
Um, I haven't said hello
That's
to a lot of my
cool.
viewers that are here. Hello, everyone. Uh, he had a couple of videos about some of the
Yeah,
challenges.
great videos.
He had more recently about it, and I've had it, and it I've had people literally get really belligerent at me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not pleasant. I mean, banging on the glass and all kinds of things, and I'm like, I'm not even taking a picture of you. In fact, I'm waiting for you to get out of the way.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
exactly right.
there are times though, people legitimately don't want their picture taken
No, no. Yeah,
because
for sure.
they're escaped convicts.
Yeah, yeah. That's
You don't know where they're coming from. They don't want to be
who knows what's
photographed.
going on? Yeah, that's
Yeah, you
exactly
don't know
right.
what's going on with people.
And that's what I try to do, even with my street photography. Um, I try to compose, if there's people in the frame, no faces. I always
Yeah,
do try to do that. Obviously, I can't do that all the time, but most of
right.
the time I'm going for people in action with no face sort of thing. That's one of my
Yeah,
sort of rules that I guess that's something I do look for is, or you can't make out their face. So that one on my Instagram, it was so dark and so contrasty that you couldn't really say who it is or what it is. You know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
face is really expressed. I've never understood street photography when like there's street photographers that have like a flash and they go up to people and they shoot them in the face. I feel as though that is very offensive to people, and that's what gives street photography a bit of a bad name, where most of us don't do that at all.
Right. Right. And that's what you see on TV and the movies. You know,
Yeah.
the photographer's always like this creepy guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
that's not us. We just enjoy photography, and people are wonderful subjects.
That's
You
exactly
know,
right, man. Yeah.
we're not trying to use your face or anything for anything other than
No,
just for the art of capturing humanity.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
exactly right. Yep. Yep.
ironically, I found that I don't know. Let me get this out real quick. Okay, so I got this retro flash, right,
Oh wow.
from Godox. They send me this stuff time to time, but
Yeah.
anyway, I went out, and then this has a bracket, right, and you mount this
Yeah.
onto your camera, and you walk around like old school, right?
Oh wow.
uh, but I went to a 4th of July event at a park where there's, you know, thousands of people.
For sure.
And they saw me walking around with that camera, and they're like, "Hey, come take my picture. Come take
Yeah,
my
yeah,
picture."
yeah, yeah. This is really cool.
You know, because it's like you're kind of that cool guy with the camera now, because you're not
Yeah.
trying to be discreet. You're not trying to be, sneaky. You're out. Man, you're like in full force with a camera taking
Yes.
pictures. And
Yes. I guess that's the cool thing too about like the Pen F, in particular, like how cool it looks.
yeah,
People like the few times people have come and said, "Oh, what is that? That's really, really awesome." And it just on a strap, just sitting on your hair, it's very discreet. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And even like the GX9
yeah.
is still a small camera as well.
And it's interesting. I think because it does. Because I've gotten questions like, "Are you shooting film?" You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think with a film camera, even though a lot of them are very large, people are less intimidated by film cameras.
They are, man.
Right?
That's right. No, that's exactly
I get
right.
that feeling because I've gone out with my film camera a few times, and uh, it could be just my aura and what I'm projecting when I'm shooting with film,
Yep.
because I know there's, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, I feel like I'm less intimidating to people when I'm using a film camera,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they don't
sure.
seem to mind as much.
Yep.
I'll have to test that theory more, but I know the few times I've gone out with film cameras, I didn't have any like
No,
nasty looks or stink eye,
no, that's right. Yep,
And
yep.
when I went out with this giant thing, but it's
Yes,
funny when you go out with a camera like a GH7,
yeah,
like the
yeah,
cameras that they're making, the
yes, yeah,
G9.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
It flags. Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
people are like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking
That,
my picture?" You
that's
know?
exactly right. And that's I did the test with this camera the other day at a theme park because I only live about 10 minutes away from all the theme parks on the Gold Coast. And this with at a theme park, no big deal. You know what I mean? Everyone's taking photos and stuff. But
Right.
out in public, that's when you're going to get some sort of looks and stuff, which I understand too. You know what I mean? That's why
Yeah.
it really reinforced when that lady said, like, "What are you doing?" the other day when I was just testing out stuff. I thought it was like, okay, that's the second time in like 8 years or whatever this has ever happened, and both times like the D700 was massive. I never with the GX9 or the Pen F.
Yeah. One time I had my super telephoto lens on my one of my Olympus cameras on a tripod. I was
Yeah,
taking a picture of this building. It was about 2 blocks away,
yeah,
but it
right.
had this beautiful clock.
Yeah, right.
But in between the building and where I was standing is a park
Yes,
with
yep,
lots of
yeah,
kids running
yeah,
around.
yeah.
And I had this lady come up to me and give me a heart.
Detected at your porch.
sorry. I had this lady come up to me and accuse me of taking pictures of kids.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
like,
it. Yeah.
and I just push the play button. See this picture? I'm taking a picture of the clock all the
Yeah,
way down there
yeah,
because I wanted
yeah.
for artistic reasons. I wanted the compression and
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep,
all of
yep.
that. But because like in between me and that clock is
There
like
was this.
this, there's like, and what made it worse, right, is there's sprinklers and things
Oh, of
going
course,
on. So a
yeah.
lot of the kids like just wearing their bathing suit.
Oh, yeah.
I paid no attention to that, right? I'm
No,
like
yeah,
focused
no.
on this clock and I got my infrared filters. I was like really into it. And then my God, this lady just gave me a real hard time about that.
Oh,
Anyhow,
man.
um, but going back to your work, I wanted to kind of follow up on a couple of things. You know, you talked about that app or whatever that splits up the things in the grids for your
Yes.
Instagram.
Yep.
So that's one level. That's kind of the final level. But before that, how much post-processing do you do? Do you spend a lot of time on that, or is it pretty much ready, almost out of camera, and you just tweak it? How
Um,
important is the post-processing for you in general?
Post-processing, well, I only use Lightroom Mobile now, on my Mac. I don't use, like, the full version of Lightroom Classic. I just use Lightroom Mobile, and I've got a few go-to presets that I use that I've developed over the years. And bulk of the time they're pretty much ready to go in camera. I guess, that's shooting manual and stuff. I put a lot of thought into my white balance and everything like that to get it as bright as I can.
Yeah,
And post-production, yeah, these days especially, it's really not that long.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I think, have you ever just said, I'm just going to use the JPEG?
Oh, for sure, especially on the GX9. I've actually got a JPEG book, that people can check out, with this
Okay.
recipe book. They're not film simulations or emulations or whatever it is. There's nothing like that. It's just me getting into the color profiles and just tweaking them a bit to get optimal JPEGs.
Awesome.
Mm.
Awesome. And that's the thing is, just a reminder to the audience, Grant has a great Lumix channel, talks a lot about Lumix gear and lenses to help you get familiar with the kind of gear that's available and what you can do with it. And then also, I guess somewhere in your YouTube page, you have a link to this book for these
Yeah,
recipes, so to
it's
speak.
in the store at my website and stuff. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great. So then all the links to Grant's social media, anyway, to connect with him, I put it into the description of this live stream. So definitely check those out. Okay, so that's good because early on I was really all about, because I had the Pen F, right? I was really
yeah,
all about tweaking the color science in the Pen F
yeah,
because it
man.
has that color wheel in there
Yeah,
and
yeah. I watch those videos. Yeah,
it has all kinds of stuff, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, And now that I'm heavy into post processing now. I
Yeah,
spend a lot of time
yep.
tweaking things and getting it. But so you and I are kind of opposite in that sense. I'm fast. I can
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
very
yeah.
quickly,
Yeah,
but
you can system down.
I
Yeah,
do spend a lot of time
yeah,
editing. But the key is just the not to take that many. Don't take the ridiculous pictures. Take only the
yeah,
ones that are.
yeah. Don't
You know,
spray it. Yeah,
'Cause I'll come back. Like I came back from a photo walk. Uh, Last weekend I did, and I only took like 50 pictures,
yeah. Right. Yeah,
and they
yeah,
were all bracketed. So really, you divide that by 4 or 5, and I really
yeah.
only took about 10 shots. You
For
know,
sure.
uh,
Mm.
and even today I went to a balloon and air show, and
Yeah,
I
right.
think I had about 123 shots.
Yeah,
But most of that is because I took the Pen F, and the autofocus on that was really struggling.
yeah. Sure. That's yeah. It is a bit sluggish, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
found.
and if I had my own one, I probably would have only taken about 50 shots,
Yeah,
but I kept missing the focus, and
yeah. That's what I
yeah,
struggle with my PDF too. So that's good to
yeah,
hear.
the autofocus on the Pen F, I wouldn't say it's bad.
No.
but it's the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's sluggish.
it's the weakest one of the bunch.
For sure.
So when you're looking for those pockets of like getting back to your images and your style, um, you're shooting outdoors a lot and you're shooting manual.
Yeah.
What do you typically are you how do you deal with the lighting? Like, are you underexposing, like dialing in?
Yeah.
Are you looking at the EV meter or are you on auto ISO? Like, what are your general settings when you're in manual mode?
I use so how I sort of get my compositions is I underexpose a lot, not enough, but I use the zebra stripes in my Panasonic cameras to see where the highlights are overexposing
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So the zebra stripes are a big part of my sort of workflow. I'd be lost without them. It's the first thing whenever I get any new Lumix camera, turn on the zebra stripes straight away. I don't really use the
Interesting.
histogram. Yeah, I just use, and that's a video thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I use that, and that has, I got hit to that probably a little bit after, maybe 6 months after using my G7,
Hmm.
and yeah, put those zebra stripes on, and that's what tells me where I'm clipping, and that tells me where I need to save. So I'm always protecting my highlights. That's the biggest thing for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
Uh, yeah, and in the Olympus doesn't have that, so we would have to use our blinkies to highlight
Yeah,
your shadow warnings. It's not the
yeah,
same
yeah,
as a zebra, though. Zebras give you an actual percentage, right? You can set
yeah.
that,
That's it. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
Yeah, they're
normally
game
for
changers.
video work, but it makes sense that in photography you would use something like that to give
It's a
you.
big part of my workflow, and then I'm rolling my exposure with my shutter. So
Okay.
as soon as I know I'm gonna, like, I might get some movement here, that's when I up my ISO. So if I want to,
Okay,
if
so
I
you're
start,
not in auto ISO either. You're just
no,
locking ISO in. Everything's locked in before you take the
everything's
picture.
locked in, white balance, everything. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So even white balance, you're not
Yeah,
even
yeah,
on
white
auto
balance.
white balance.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, locking it
Boy,
all
that's
in.
pretty bold. I don't think I could do that. I'm always auto ISO, auto white balance. I
I
mean,
guess, like, when I was doing
all
my
intents and
diploma, like,
purposes.
I would look at my teachers and lecturers and think, oh, they lock everything in, so I'm going to start doing that. So that's how it all sort of happened.
Wow. I'm so opposite. I'm almost in program mode for most of my shots. P mode. I mean, I say, and I think you did it. I didn't watch it, but I saw a thumbnail for one of your videos about uh, people say 99% of pros use this. They shoot an
Aperture
aperture priority or
priority.
shutter priority, whatever. And I'm like, I should watch that, but I kind of see where you're going,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where you want complete control
yeah,
of the cameras when you know your style and you know
yeah.
what you want,
I
you
think
can
that's it.
control it.
I think
And
that's the big caveat for it. Yeah.
yeah, because maybe that's why I do so much post processing.
Yeah, well, I couldn't, like, go to a job and shoot on aperture priority or shutter priority. I just wouldn't be able to do it. It would stress me out.
Yeah. So let me ask you, for a lot of the images you take are very static in the sense that nothing's really moving.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
in your professional work, you take a lot of pictures of people, and most of them are just kind of sitting there
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not
But
blazing
you do have to have sort of a minimum shutter speed when you're taking
without a
pictures
doubt.
of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
What would you recommend in those kind of scenarios, like in the street, where people might be moving a little bit, they're not standing still for a portrait?
200 or 250.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
that sounds good. I'm usually at 125, but yeah, I
yeah. You can
see
do that.
motion blur all the time.
Yep, yep, yep,
Uh,
yep. I just like to be, if it's professional, I want to try and get it as tack sharp as I can for people. So that's why, like, some sort of scenes and stuff, if I'm doing like back of restaurants and kitchens and stuff,
mhm.
not getting past that 250, and I would rather bump up my ISO so I know the deliverable is going to be sharp.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. I'm more on the higher end of that shutter speed when it comes to like shooting birds and
oh,
wildlife.
without a
You
doubt,
know,
yeah,
I tell them
yeah.
1/2000th, one four
Oh, yeah.
thousand. That's when I'm very critical about shutter speed. But I haven't been so much with uh, my street photography, and I
No.
guess that, like I said, because I'm in program mode for the most part. Uh, but I should try and level up and shoot in manual. But I keep
Yeah,
telling
oh, yeah.
people walk up to me, you know, in the photo club and stuff, and they're like, they're shooting in manual, and I'm like, God, for God's sake, why are you doing that? You just bought this camera and you're trying to shoot in manual mode.
That is funny.
I was
Mm,
like, just just put it in P mode and take some pictures and think about the images and the
yeah,
story you
that's
want to
exactly
tell.
right. I do
Uh,
one-on-one photography lessons here on the coast, and, um, you know, the goal with my students is like, you know, we're going to just work on the compositions first, just put it in P mode, get the feeling of the camera, all that sort of thing, and then we'll work gradually towards shooting manual, so you can dial in your thing.
right, right, and that you know, and that makes sense because yeah, people get too wrapped up in how do you get the
Yeah,
camera to do this or that, and it's like, no, the camera will do it all for you. And when it
that's
gets it wrong, that's a learning experience, right?
mhm, that's right.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so that said, you know, like I said, we did you and I as educators, you know, and passion for this photography, you know, what advice would you give to people that might be watching that are aspiring to be photographers and want to get better at being in photography? What
Yep.
advice would you give?
Is just start. That's that. Don't think about it too much. The
Hmm.
entry to getting a camera, like even like a D90 here in Australia, $150. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like an older camera will definitely teach you how to shoot properly. But the biggest thing is don't get wrapped up in the gear. I've painted myself into a box, especially with my YouTube channel, where it's heavily gear based. Um,
right.
you know, I would like to do more photography videos, videography videos, and stuff like that. But yeah, the biggest advice is don't think about it too much. Just start. Get a small SD card for your camera. Don't get a big one,
Mm.
and fill it up. So just fill it up. So if I don't even know if you can get 16 gig ones anymore, but get a 16 gig and just go for a walk and try and fill it up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's new. That's an interesting approach.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's what's great is because there's so many different kinds of people out there and they connect with people, you know, they connect with educators, teachers, other photographers differently. And that is definitely advice I would never give.
Yeah,
But it's great. No, but it's great to hear it from other people because
yeah,
not everybody has to like me or my approach to
yeah,
photography, you know.
for
They
sure.
they might love what you do and hate what I do, right? And vice
Yeah, yeah,
versa.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It's important to have different voices and find people that you connect with or that you want to
yeah,
learn from.
that's
And
exactly right.
that's a very very interesting approach. And there's no right or wrong to photography. I think we can both
No.
agree on just start. Just
Well, I was
start.
a music teacher for a very, very long time before I got into this sort of stuff, up to about
Mhm.
2015. I was teaching
Mm.
bass and music theory lessons, and I would see my students just struggling too much with they get bogged down with the theory and stuff. I said, look, don't worry about it too much. It will come. One day you'll be playing on stage and like, oh, that's what Grant was talking about. It'll all fall
Yeah.
into place.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was very lucky that a friend of mine was you know, professional portrait photographer and I connected with him and how
Yeah,
he was teaching me photography.
yeah,
Um, so I think, yeah, finding a good teacher that you connect with,
yes,
and this
without
idea of just filling up a card. Wow,
yeah, fill up a card. Fill up a card. Just fill
that's
it up.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
folks. So there it is from Grant. Another awesome. If you've seen his work, if you want to shoot like Grant, fill up your card.
Fill up a card, yeah. Get like the smallest card you can get and make it a point of filling it up over a couple of days or whatever it is, and then
Yeah,
get them back and drag them on your computer and just see what you're doing. The other big thing I find too is diving into things like Pinterest. So starting a mood board this is the marketing and design mind happening, but like
Uh-huh.
get a mood board happening, and the images that you want to have, and then set it every time you open your browser. That's the first page that comes up. So when you open Google, you instantly get that Pinterest feed with all these photos that you want to aspire to do, and that will sort of start leaking and leaching into your mind. Do it that way too. I'm a big visual guy. Have a vision
Yeah.
board, have your goals set out and what you want to achieve with photography. I want to do X, Y, and Z by this month. I want to do this by this month. Have them, write them out, put them in front of you.
Wow. Wow, that's great advice. Yeah, like I said, you and I are very different in that respect. But that is awesome. That is awesome. Like I said, there's never any right and wrong in this. It's
No,
it's all
man.
about
No.
how everybody's brain works a little differently,
Oh,
and
without a
how
doubt.
they get into things. Because maybe the way I teach or show people to do things makes photography hard for them, and
Yeah.
not what they want out of it. You know.
Yeah. Who
Uh,
knows?
but then the people that I do connect with, and you know this with your own viewers, right? They love you to death.
Yeah.
They think
That's
you're
it.
the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so what I'll do now is I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really
You're right.
appreciate
No
uh,
worries.
but if you do have a few more minutes to maybe
Yeah,
answer
for
some
sure.
viewer
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
uh, if you're watching now and want to ask Grant some questions, now's a good time to kind of put them in. And I'm going to just scroll through the chat real quick and see.
Okay, man.
Um, we'll take some of the low hanging fruit. Here's an easy one for you. What are some of your future videos you're planning for your channel?
Well, more content on the GH6, obviously. I've got a
Mm.
video coming out with that. A few more sort of older Nikon videos as
Okay.
well. Because I want to tap into that sort of world. I'm thinking about getting a D3400 because they're as cheap as anything. I know a
Yeah.
lot of beginner photographers do get that camera.
Really?
Maybe make some videos on that camera as well. More GX9 content. I've got a new ebook in production about black and white recipes and shooting black and white with your GX9. Yeah,
Did you say GH9?
GX9.
GX9, I'm sorry. Okay. GX9. I
Yeah.
was gonna say, wow, where are you from?
Yeah,
You know something we don't?
yeah, that's it.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
that's the sort of stuff.
Let's see. I want I know there was some questions here,
You're right, man.
and I asked everything that I had planned anyway.
For sure.
Um, what's this one? Why is it that while shooting animals, always trying our best to stay undetected, and that is perfectly okay, but street photography from afar, shooting uninterrupted moments, frowned upon from the norm? And this gets back to what you and I were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think? Just overall, what do you think has changed? Because I had mentioned that television and movies, portray a lot of photographers as creepy people.
For
But
sure.
have you seen a change over the years in people's perception of street photographers?
Yeah, I think like that lady who stopped me the other day down at my local pier, she had a sense of paranoia about her.
Mm,
And like, how dare you be doing this? So, but then that's why I just filtered through. Look, this is what I do. This is a technology thing. I'm not doing anything else but testing out the firmware. And but she had a real sense of paranoia about it. And I think, like I've got my Instagram, but I don't have Facebook. I don't have a personal Facebook account or personal Instagrams or anything like that. I think people are they're paranoid. Not paranoid, but it's we're living in a real period of time. You know what I mean? Where it's scary out there. It's like I'm 40, but it feels like the good old days are over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was, I've only really been shooting the last 9 or 10 years,
Mm.
and then it was a huge gap, like 30 years between
Yeah,
college
right.
and now, that I
Yeah, yeah,
didn't really shoot much.
yeah,
So I didn't see it. I just walked out there, and right away people started, you know, banging their fist at me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
what did I do,
yeah,
So, but I have heard that, and Brian James did a video on it,
yes,
that
yep.
things seem to have changed somewhere. People are more paranoid.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
something
is
in
that
the water, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I think people are on edge. It just seems like society in general is just, it's
I
society in
mean,
general is on edge.
yeah, I mean, I understand, like, at least here in the U.S., when we had 9/11,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that there was a lot of scrutiny about why you're taking pictures, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
because they found, I think they had, during their research, found that these guys were photographing places and
right.
planning and doing
Okay.
things.
Yep, yep, for sure.
Uh, so it became kind of a thing.
Yep,
Uh, so it got implanted. But anyhow, yeah,
yeah,
I've had and I talked about it time to time. So when I go out street shooting, yeah, it's very similar to what you have. It's mostly static scenes where there's no
yep,
people in them,
that's it. Yep.
and the exception being, I might try this. Go
Yeah.
out with this goofy thing and just own it, I'm there
Well, I
taking
guess
pictures.
I guess a lot of the times too, because I do stock photography, I think to myself, can I sell this as a stock photography image as well?
Mm,
So a lot of my compositions, have nothing in them as well, because I think to myself, well, this is something that being like, a marketing person working in design,
mhm.
I think to myself, oh, this is something a designer could definitely use to get color inspiration or something like that.
Yeah, and, I just thought of a few other questions, like, what do you think about, like, the conversation? It seems to have tempered down a little bit, but there's been conversations about AI taking over, photography and marketing and things.
Yep, yep, yep.
You
Um,
know, particularly like stock photography, where a lot of times they're using it, you gotta leave open spaces for text and things, but
yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
have you
Yeah, that's
seen that
how
in
I
your work? Has
yeah.
it affected the field that you're in? I
No,
I wouldn't think it would, because you're shooting people, but
no, look, I am a big fan of AI. Like I use it all the time. Like not
mhm,
for image creating, but for text-based copywriting ideas. Um, yeah, I use it all the time. I think it's a tool that is very, very handy. But yeah, even with stock photography now, the trend is stock video. You know what I mean? Stock video
mm,
clips. And that's what I've been getting into as well. And that's something I want to push into 2025 is doing stock video. 20-second
right.
clip of ocean breaks, or the just like I live near sugarcane fields, so just the wind taking the
Hmm,
sugar cane and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a whole field that I'll never get into. Uh, you know, another question I get that's very common on my channel, at least, is, since I haven't been doing it that long, relatively speaking, right?
Mm.
I mean, you've been doing it for decades, but how do you sort of manage your I guess they call it data asset management. How do you manage your photographies, your photos, if you have
Um,
a system at all?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my lecturer teachers in school sort of said it doesn't have to be that easy if you shoot correctly. So if you shoot correctly, and it comes back to what you're saying now, like you're not taking that many photos. It doesn't take that much to back up your work now. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So I've got a hard drive, and I'll break it into years of what I've got, and then I'll have subfolders of months, and then
mhm,
that's how I catalog things. I don't catalog it by the location or anything like that. I catalog it by the months of the year, and then I think back to myself, oh, when did I do that shoot? Okay, I'll go back there. With the pro work, I'll have a pro work folder that everything goes into, and then I'll have the shoot folder inside of that. So Romaro restaurant, the date, and
right.
the files in there. Yep.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
It's basically for my personal stuff, it's chronological.
yeah, that's
Uh,
it.
maybe a keyword here and there. I
Yeah,
hardly use
that's it.
keywords anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
And then,
Yeah,
yeah, for my paid work, I have a client folder.
yeah,
And then in that folder, I have it broken down by individual clients. And then
yep.
under each client, I have individual locations.
Well, because I'm not like a wedding photographer, I'm not giving them like however many photos they give. It's maximum like 12 to 24, and then I'll back those JPEGs up
Hmm.
on into the edited JPEGs into Dropbox, and I'll have a folder there for that, just in
Yeah.
case disaster happens and they need them again.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I put them on Google Drive,
Yeah,
all the JPEGs.
yeah,
I have a folder because under each client, I have the client, then the location,
yeah,
and then under location, I have subfolders of uh, raw footage, video, and then one more folder I call deliverables.
yep, yep,
And that's where all the JPEGs go, and those get uploaded to the cloud.
yeah, for
So I
sure.
have them on I have them on Drive, and I have them on my computer.
Yep, yep.
So pretty simple approach.
Yeah,
I
simple
know a lot
approach.
of people, they overthink it because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people in photography, they're all compute. There's a
RAID
lot of computer
systems and
people, right?
yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be that
Uh,
solid state hard drive, and then just back it up.
Interesting. Okay, because yeah, I've seen some pretty elaborate.
So have I.
You know, I've watched some very elaborate videos on
Yes.
organizing your photography, and I think if you're like, there is a legitimate argument for photographers that use their photos as like an archive.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, somebody wants to see what did this street in this city look
Yes.
like in
Yep.
1970,
Yep. Yep.
and you
Yep.
need to be able to find that very quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, so if you're into that kind of work where you have decades of images and you want to be able to, you're like an archive, then yeah, you'll probably need a much more elaborate system.
Yeah, and I guess and that's what I always say to my channel on my channel. It's like I'm not doing paid photography work full time. I'm not a photojournalist who's doing it full time. Most of my photography people come from my marketing clients and stuff, so I don't have
Yeah.
don't have to have this elaborate system. But I guess if a commercial photographer who's working for X, Y, or Z or whatever, they're going to have their systems all
Yeah.
lined up. Yeah.
Yeah. And for my personal stuff, I tell people, my work's not that important. If I lost everything tomorrow, it's okay.
Yeah. 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 That's it.
You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, I have my JPEGs on Flickr that I
Yeah.
care about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I lost everything on my computer, it's okay.
That's it,
That's
man.
why I don't, because I don't know, people get paranoid about it. And I don't want to
Yeah.
judge people's, how they value their own photography.
No, for
If it's
sure.
important, you need to have a backup system, but don't ask me because I'm just,
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's great. Well, tell you what, Grant, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I didn't see too many
Yeah,
new
man.
questions come in, but those are a couple I wanted to ask you because I
Yep.
get those a lot on mine, and I don't have good answers.
No. No.
Right. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
advice you gave for aspiring photographers about getting started and filling up a
Yeah.
memory card. That's definitely
Yes.
new. I'm definitely going to share that and give you
Yeah.
credit
Fill
for
up the
that
time. Yeah.
because there's always approaches your approach to your style of photography, I think, was very inspirational as well.
Oh, thanks, man.
Uh, yeah, helping people to find their own style and their own rhythm
Yeah.
and putting all of taking all of those photos you filled up that card with and
Yeah.
organizing them by mood or feeling or
Yeah.
style that you
That's
like.
it. Yeah.
That's a terrific way for people to, yeah, help them find their own style and just enjoy the process rather than, yeah, getting bogged down with
Yeah. Don't
shooting a
get bogged
menu,
down.
for example.
Yeah. That's it, man.
That's
That's it.
awesome, man.
That's it.
And I look forward to, if you're gonna have time, usually in January, February, I do my annual Micro Four Third,
Oh,
meetups where I
yeah.
bring on
Cool.
like 6 people at a time. I'd like to have you on.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
great, man. Yeah, that'd
yeah,
be
that would be
fantastic.
awesome for us to have you as part of that
Oh,
uh,
thanks.
group because this is a growing community, and I want that to
It
be
is.
reflected
Yeah.
on both our channels. That we want Micro Four Thirds to grow. and make us some rangefinder affordable cameras.
That's it.
And compact weather sealed lenses. That's another big one. Do you
Yeah,
get that a
that's the
lot
one.
too? Weather
Yep.
sealing, is that a big deal for you? Or
Look, yeah, it is, man. I guess because I'm in the field a lot. So yeah, weather sealing is not the biggest deal on earth, but I would prefer things to be weather sealed. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think? 1.8 primes or 1.4 primes?
I
You
think,
know, if
it's a hard one. I
well,
guess if you're
let
going
me put it this
to
way. Yeah, because it's not that much difference. 1.4, but the lens sizes grow quite a bit in that
they
small
do.
difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you
Look,
rather have
I'm
like more affordable weather sealed 1.8 primes
yeah.
or more premium 1.4 primes that cost like twice as much?
Yeah, I think like the 1.7s, the 1.8s being weather sealed, like the Leica. I don't know if this is weather sealed. I don't think it is, but anyway, the 15 mil f1.7, the size and form factor of it, I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest sort of driving force for it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
1.7, and that photo walk I did, well, the test with the GH6 the other day. I really missed that faster aperture, especially when I was in at 60 mil zooming in or I just really missed it. So I think
yeah.
if they kept it at 1.7, 1.8, and small, that'd be cool.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm.
I know. Like, why? What did Olympus do? They come out with a 150 to 600.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I mean,
yeah,
I get it. They focus on wildlife, and there's a lot of people love that lens.
yeah, yeah. It must
But
be a big market that I've got no idea about because
yeah,
that's seems what that they're doing, but it's like I think if Olympus IM Systems, they did an Olympus Pen F Mark II, I think I think it would go
yeah,
crazy.
they would kill it. I know I'm dragging this out, but
You're
has
right, man.
Lumix come out with any lenses recently, or I
I
mean,
think
not like these
they've
revamped.
revamped a few, like the 12 to 35 mil f2.8. That's now a Leica brand as
Yeah.
well. So it's got the Leica branding. Yeah, I'm not too sure. They've just revamped a lot of lenses. I think the 9 mil was the last real big, lens,
That's
prime lens that
right.
they've pushed. Yeah, yeah.
And that's been at least a year, but it's not too
Oh, yeah,
old.
definitely. Yeah, cool lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Wow. Okay. Because we were talking about this just before the stream started. That ironically, there's the Olympus and the Panasonic lenses actually complement each other. They don't really compete. You know.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, yeah, they definitely all have a slice in the field.
Yeah. It was an interesting. I mean, there's certainly overlap because you got to have your Trinity, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the 50 to 200 from
Yeah.
Panasonic, you don't see that on the Olympus side.
No, no, that's right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
a 300 f4, you see
Yeah.
in Olympus, you don't see that in
No.
Panasonic,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah, there
So
must
it's
be some
it's
chat
really.
happening.
I wish they would work together a little more to make them a little bit more compatible, because
Yeah,
there's always gaps in features, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
like you can't use focus stacking with Panasonic lenses,
Yeah,
but
and
then
the dual
and the
IS.
IBIS, yeah, and the IBIS isn't
Yeah,
compatible, right?
yeah,
You
that's
can't
it.
do
Yeah,
sync IBIS like.
yeah,
Little things like that, if they work
yeah,
together more, like we are, as because one of my mentors really frowned on me reaching out to other creators like yourself, and as I've done in the past,
yeah, right.
saying that we were competitors. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
right. Oh,
we're
yeah.
not. We're not competitors. We're
No,
fellow
no.
photographers on this,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this world.
yeah.
And I've refused to consider anyone on YouTube as my competitor.
Oh,
You're
same
all.
here, man, definitely.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're all in it together, you know?
yeah, no, there's none
Uh,
of that. I think if you've got that mindset, that's you're not gonna grow in this day and age.
yeah, so I understood where he was coming from. He's a very competitive person,
Mm.
but I didn't yeah, I didn't follow his advice there, and that's why we're here today.
Oh, cool, man.
Long
Oh,
story
that's good.
short. So, uh, but thanks so much for being with me, Grant.
Thanks for
Just
having me
hang
on,
on.
man.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream and then hang on for me, okay?
Yeah, no worries,
And
man.
everyone joined us today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate your participation. If you're watching later, thank you for coming in after the stream is over. Go and visit Grant's YouTube channel, and all of the links down below to his website and Instagram. I think you'll really appreciate the kind of work he does and find it as inspiration as I have
Oh, thanks,
to get
Dave.
out there and start shooting.
Oh, thanks
All
very
right.
much. That means a lot.
Thanks.